What's going on, everybody? Mike, to join you here following the UTEP loss. 17 points is all they were able to muster up to Western Kentucky, who scored 34 points. The final there being obviously 44-17 in favor of the Hilltoppers as they defeat the UTEP Miners. The Miners now going down all the way to 0-6 to start the Scotty Walden era. Look, again, I've said this multiple times. You shouldn't have had a lot of expectations for this team. You shouldn't have thought that this was going to be a bowl team right out of the gate. I feel bad saying that I don't think that they will reach their normal 3 to 3.5 to 4 games that they win per season historically with the UTEP Miners, because looking at the schedule, which we'll look at a little bit later, it doesn't look like there's anywhere there for them to get 3 wins. Looking at this game, though, it's clear to see that UTEP just cannot stop the run. 5 out of their 6 games, they've given up over 200 yards rushing, 100 yards rushing in every game. The one game that they didn't give up 200 yards in was to Southern Utah, and Southern Utah came into the Sun Bowl and beat UTEP at home, following a whole bunch of rah-rah, this is our home, we're going to defend our home type stuff that we saw from the UTEP Miners and from the fan base. UTEP losing that game as well. That seems to be the biggest issue with this team. Cannot stop the run. Over the last couple of weeks, though, we were talking about this team not being able to really do anything whenever it came to penalties. It seemed like penalties were killing them. This game, however, they only had 2 penalties, 2 accepted penalties for a total of 13 yards. So they got a lot better on the penalty side. The only thing is that it seems like whenever they take a step forward, whenever you see them get competitive, in the game against Southern Utah, which they shouldn't have lost, but they didn't get blown out in that. They only lose by 3 points. Then we see them, have a valiant effort against Colorado State, which they easily could have gotten blown out on, only lose that game by 10 points. Then against Liberty, we see them, that game should not have been close at all, and UTEP is able to keep it close, keep it respectable. Obviously, late game heroics there, and maybe Liberty kind of mailed it in at the end, but we've seen them stay close in games. There hasn't been a blowout since the Nebraska game, minus today. Giving up 44 points on defense. That seems to be the big Achilles heel for this team, is defense, and then starting the game just so slow. They don't have the big play hitters. And I know someone's going to tell me, look, Mike, somebody scored a 76-yard touchdown today. Odom scored a 76-yard touchdown today. 1 pass completed for a 76-yard touchdown. And that, to me, still not something to sit there and hang your hat on if you're a UTEP Miner fan, if you're the UTEP Miners football team. And I know none of them are happy with this. If you see the end of the game, you can see some of the players, hands on their knees like, man, we just got to get that one. We've got to get that one. And it seems like they can't really break through whenever it comes to what we expect from this team. They're late in the third quarter. They cut it down to a 10-point game. And then, of course, the wheels start falling off from there. It goes from 17-27 to 34-17 to ultimately where it ends at today at 44-17, with the UTEP Miners falling in that one. The 2-quarterback system thing isn't going to work. I've always felt like you have to have the ability to be comfortable in your position as any athlete, right? You're the starter no matter what. But it seems like there seems to be a little bit of a, okay, well, if I've got this short of a leash, then coach is going to pull me out and I'm done for. Like there's nothing more that I can do. Coach is going to pull me out. And whenever you play with that additional stress in the game, it doesn't necessarily work out. I think Scotty Walden needs to either A, stick with Locklear, or B, stick with McConnell. Neither one has been great. Like looking at the stats for today, Locklear going 11-17 for 82 yards. Cade McConnell going 3 for 7, 96 yards. 76 of those yards came on one pass, which was the touchdown to Kenny Odom, a 76-yard touchdown pass. You cannot have success if you do not have your players feeling like they are safe in their positions. And it seems like there are a lot of additional stressors with this UTEP team, trying to find how we're going to grow with the different style of offense that Scotty Walden wants to implement with the UTEP Miners. Remember, this is his first year. And the broadcast said it way too many times, I feel like, that, he's the second youngest coach in college football. He's such a young guy, blah, 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 right? The fact of the matter is he took over an already bad team. You don't have coaching changes for the most part. Yes, I know Bama. Yes, Michigan. Okay. You don't have coaching changes for the most part if your team is really good. You have those coaching changes because your team is really bad, or your coach had one really good season and then left off to somewhere else. This is a bad team. We are still dealing with the players and recruits from the previous regime at UTEP with Dana DeMille. This team needs to try to find its footing, but it seems like they just got thrown into the fire and have no clue what it is that they're going to be doing. I don't want to sound so doom and gloom, though, because one thing that was really impressive with the UTEP Miners in this game specifically was their ability to run the football. Western Kentucky, not a powerhouse team, right? 3-2 entering this game, now 4-2 on the season as UTEP drops from 0-5 to 0-6 on the season. But being able to see UTEP actually run the ball, that was, maybe something that you could say, hey, we've got some light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to this team. But if you don't have a lead, running the ball doesn't mean anything. And maybe you get a lot of those yards. I know people are going to push back and say, Tip, a lot of those yards came in garbage time when they're just trying to get as much down the field as they possibly can. Again, this isn't an offense that's going to blow your doors off like an air raid type offense. It was a lot of, okay, let me pitch the ball here late in the game and try to get as many yards as I possibly can. Maybe that's something that, kind of doesn't look good. But right now, being able to establish the run, Ezel Jolly getting 27 carries, getting 119 yards, averaging 4.5 yards a carry. That is huge. Quarterback Shane Locklear, 23 yards on 6 carries. Being able to have that ability, to me, is super important. Maybe we establish the run, right? Maybe we go back to old school football whenever it comes to UTEP. Establish the run, keep the ball out of the other team's hand as much as possible, and then worry about completing passes later. Maybe that's what the offensive style for this team should be for this year. I don't feel like it'll be that way all the time going forward, but for this year, it kind of feels like it has to be that way, or else it doesn't look like these games are going to be any closer. Let's look at what we've got here for the UTEP schedule coming up. And there is some light for me towards the end of the season where we can see a couple of wins coming up here just based off of who we've got remaining on the schedule, right? FIU coming in here to UTEP next week. That, to me, we can go ahead and chalk that one up as a loss. Louisiana Tech coming into or UTEP going on the road to Louisiana Tech, probably chalk that one up as a loss. Middle Tennessee coming into UTEP, probably chalk that one up to as a loss as well. I know you're going to say, Tip, these teams that you're mentioning, not that great. FIU 2-4 on the season. Louisiana Tech 1-3 on the season. Middle Tennessee State 1-4 on the season. They're not getting blown out the way that UTEP is. UTEP is still losing by an average of 18.5 points a game. 18.5 points a game. 3 scores a game is how UTEP is losing these games. So I can't look at those games and say, okay, these teams are bad. Maybe UTEP has a shot here. It doesn't seem like UTEP has a shot against those teams in particular. Then obviously in November, you have the Tennessee game, which woof. Let's hope Tennessee has some sort of fall off, because that game can get bad and really ruin some stats for the whole season when it comes to UTEP defensively, offensively. We'll see how that game goes. But sandwiching, bookending that Tennessee game, you have an 0-5 as of now Kennesaw State team, and then you've got a 1-4 New Mexico State team. And that, to me, is where you have the possibility of getting your wins. To me, it doesn't necessarily matter if UTEP loses the other games that we mentioned, the other 4 games that are right there. You go 0-10, right? You beat Kennesaw State. Let's see if maybe Kennesaw State can have some sort of a resurgence. They're losing games by 21 points, 21.5 points a game this season as well. They're not that great of a team, so maybe that's where UTEP has the ability here. But UTEP has to win that New Mexico State game. And the thing is New Mexico State's going to go into that game with just as much want to win that game, because obviously that's the rivalry here in El Paso. You got the battle of I-10 between UTEP and New Mexico State. So there's the possibility right here on the schedule, minus any type of weird stuff that might happen out there. This is the opportunity here for UTEP to get 2 wins. Is there a slight possibility of maybe you beat Louisiana Tech, maybe you beat FIU, maybe you beat Middle Tennessee? Who knows? I'm not going to bank on those. I'm going to bank on let's beat Kennesaw State, let's beat New Mexico State in this season, going 2 for 1, which is going to be, or 2 and 1, which is going to be a good way of moving forward, right? We already know this team's not going to get bowl eligible. They're not going to win 6 games to get to a bowl game. So now you've got to have the moral victories and line up the small victories in order to win this, or in order to have any type of positivity coming out of this season for UTEP. I'd like to hear what y'all have to say about this. I want to get your thoughts on this. I apologize, I'm not going live today, but I made a promise that I wasn't going to go live during this week. I'm on a vacation, so I'm trying to do a little bit of stuff here, trying to balance a lot of things going on in my life. But I want to make a commitment to y'all that I will start coming live after the UTEP games in the future as well, just because to me, we've got to have more voices involved in this. It can't just be the echo chamber of, oh, UTEP's trying hard. Every football team tries hard. Sometimes you just don't have the talent to line it up. Hate to be that guy. Hate to be the guy that's that blunt, but that's just the way that it goes. All right, everybody. Once again, like I said, I want to get your thoughts on this. Where does UTEP get their wins? Where do you see UTEP finishing the season? Are you being super optimistic and thinking that they can go 5-1 and end the season here with a 5-7 record? Do you think that maybe they get 6 wins? They're not beating Tennessee. Let's just put that out there. They're not going to beat Tennessee. So maybe they get 5 wins here. Maybe they become one of those maybe possible bowl eligible teams. What happens here? What do y'all think is going to happen? And then on the opposite end of that, do you think what happens in 2017 repeats itself and UTEP goes over on the season? I would hate to see that. An 0-12 season for the UTEP Miners is not what anybody wants going forward here. But again, I want to get your thoughts on this, everybody. Get at me on Twitter. Get at me on Facebook, at Mr. Tippin33, on Instagram, all those places. Holler at your boy. Follow us on YouTube. Start following the YouTube channel. We're going to have a lot more stuff coming up with Fire and Ice. The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is going to be making its premiere once again this month. We're going to be bringing the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton back. Obviously, no affiliation with Fox Sports 1380 anymore. Maybe I can get into what that nightmare was like. More than likely won't, because I just want to be a halfway decent person going forward. But everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the show. And we will see you next week as the UTEP Miners take on FIU in the Sun Bowl. Maybe I'll work something out. Maybe we can get a tailgate going. Who knows? We'll see what happens with that, everybody. We'll see you.